Idris talked about T'Challa. So he was on an interview for F1, his movie that's out right now, and they asked him about, is he in talks with Black Panther? And what homie said was yes and no. But he did express in this interview that he does want to play the character. Now this is a win for you because you've been on the Damson Idris train for almost 3 years now. You were the first one that told me about it because I was on John David Washington at first, and you were like, "No, bro, it's Damson Idris." And then we got the Avengers Doomsday art, which looked like Damson. So I know you looked into this. So how do you feel about Damson Idris saying this about Black Panther?
I think it's interesting because it's ballsy of him because I think that they are not going through with T'Challa, and it's clear that he's had some conversation with Marvel, but what was it really about? And that's the iffy part because he said yes and he said no. It's ballsy of him because he knows the T'Challa conversation is controversial, and for an actor who's looking to secure the bag, as the kids say, with Marvel, he needs to play his cards right. And I think he's ballsy for making that statement. And I think the yes was, yeah, I've talked to Marvel. It had something to do with the Black Panther, but no, I'm not going to be playing T'Challa. I think that's what it meant. I think it's possible that he has some kind of role related to the Black Panther. Maybe it's T'Child, maybe it's something completely else, and we have no idea what it's going to be. But I don't think he's going to be cast as T'Challa. I wish he was. I want T'Challa back as much as anyone who does. And Damson Idris is like the guy that I've wanted to play this character for a really long time. On that note, so I listen to John Campia's podcast regularly. John Campia has listened to our podcast and, gave us a very generous donation, which thank you, John Campia, when he did. But something tells me he might still be listening because I heard him say something a couple hours before going live. And he was saying how it's not disrespectful to recast characters. He's like, characters get recast all the time. Look at James Bond. That's how it works. It's not disrespectful. And this is something that I have been saying for so long. And anytime I talk about it online, there's always people who say it's disrespectful. And when they say it's disrespectful, what's really interesting is, I think John Campia heard us talking about that, and I think he probably thought something similar and agreed. Or maybe he thought of it on his own. Who knows? But I hope that he listens. But anyway, because I'm a big fan of his, he is my favorite movie podcast. Like, period. He's the only one that I regularly listen to. Anyway, people are always like, oh, well, it's disrespectful. Who is it disrespectful to? They'll say, oh, well, it's disrespectful to Chadwick. Well, Chadwick wanted the character to be recast because Chadwick understands how important the character is to representation and for the legacy of Marvel. And how do we know that Chadwick wanted that? Because his brother told us that. So if you care about Chadwick and you want to respect Chadwick, you should support the recast. If you don't, and it's a selfish thing, at least be honest about it. I'm honest. I want T'Challa because I'm a fan of T'Challa, but I also think T'Challa is important to the legacy of the character. I think he's important to the Marvel universe, and I think it's important for representation. And, I saw someone mention in the comments that there aren't a lot of Black characters in the MCU, which is true. And yes, now we have Sam, and Sam is going to be a big character, but Sam doesn't have that storied archive and history the way T'Challa does. He's still a newer character, not a newer character, but he's new. He didn't become Captain America until 2014. So there's not storied, archived history of him as Captain America the way you could have with T'Challa. And what you need to understand with famous characters and famous brands. Think about Nike, for example. The reason that Adidas and Reebok and all these other sneaker brands can never compete with Nike is because, and sometimes they might have a better year or whatever, but Nike always comes back. Nike always comes back strong because Nike has heritage. You cannot buy that. You cannot replicate it. You could only have it from being in the game for a long time. And Nike has that over other brands. And that's how important it is. And T'Challa has heritage. And I'm sorry, Blue Marvel, great character. Sam is Captain America, great character. And Sam's going to be a bigger character because he's going to be a leader of the Avengers and all that. But you don't have that without T'Challa. And T'Challa is the only Black character you have that heritage with in the in the Marvel universe. So
Yeah.
you can't replace that with T'Challa. Like, and if you do replace it with T'Challa, it's a bullshit loophole. And in my view, that's disrespectful anyway. So I think it's ridiculous. I think the people who say, "Oh, it's disrespectful," most of them are full of crap because when I tell them, "Well, Chadwick wanted it," they don't care. So all of a sudden, they're full of shit. So listen, and anyway, that's just how Hollywood works. Like, we don't just retire characters because actors die. It's tragic, and of course we feel for them, but like the world moves on. T'Challa shouldn't die as a character because Chadwick did.
Yeah. T'Challa should be an even greater character because of that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how people act. Damson Idris will be a perfect casting. I hope that there's something going on behind the scenes. I could imagine that he doesn't want to play the junior. He wants to play the T'Challa, which maybe is why he might still be in talks. He's like, I'm not playing a son of the. No, I want to be the character. So I hope that he's putting that foot down similar, to what like Mahershala Ali did with Blade and some of the stuff crap they were trying to do too. So yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. But T'Challa is needed, and um, I mean, if you have the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and Black Panther going into the future, and Spider-Man, it looks like a pretty good future to me. That's
Yeah.
where I'm at. This for the sake of the universe to survive, you need this guy here.
Yeah. And like, if you are familiar with the Marvel universe and you read a lot of Marvel comics, you understand what I'm saying.
Yep. T'Challa, like, bro, like, there's comics where T'Challa and Reed are like they're working off of each other, which is an insane thing to say given what we've seen from him in general. But it's like T'Challa is a special character, bro. He's very
So
underrated.
there's actually a comic book run. It takes place right after Civil War, and it's the Fantastic Four. And you need to understand that Reed and Sue disagreed with each other on the Superhero Registration Act. Reed was for it, Sue was against it, and they were both passionate about their opinions, and it created a major conflict in their marriage. So, a comic writer, Dwayne McDuffie, great writer, Black writer, sadly has passed, but he wrote the Fantastic Four run right after Civil War. And in that comic book run, when Reed and Sue, they like went away to work on their marriage, it was T'Challa and Storm that stayed with Johnny and the Thing.
That's fire.
Basically took their spots for a bit. Yeah, it was really
I'm reading
cool.
that tonight.
It's a really cool run. It's great. Yeah. So definitely a good recommendation. But like, my point is, T'Challa has so many instances like that you can't go back to the past and insert Sam as Captain America into those stories. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you, bro. Yeah. I mean, and when you say heritage, the first thing that came to my mind is the X-Men. That's another group that just has the freaking heritage, bro. And it's earned. It's earned over time. Spider-Man has that. A lot of characters have that. And you're right. It's not like Invincible doesn't have that yet. You know what I'm saying?